Back to the Golf 10 Show, where your go-to podcast for all things NRL. I'm your host. I'm joined by Baxter. We're here to dive into, like it says on the screen, the round 2 review show. So, guys, if you missed any of the action over the weekend, you want to relive any of the thrilling moments, you want to talk about the suspensions, you want to talk about anything controversial, which there was a lot of comments on our YouTube about teams getting ripped off that I love some of your replies to, which we'll get into a little later. Guys, jump on in, grab a cold drink, sit back, enjoy the review. Let us know if you want anything else covered from a week-to-week basis. So before we get started, as we always do, Baxter, mate, how are you doing and how did you enjoy this weekend of football?
Oh, yeah, wasn't too bad. Exciting. A bit of change, a different scenery. So, yeah, we'll just crack on into it, eh?
So like you said, we'll crack right into it. Obviously, the game kicked off with that, I guess, before the game, it was labelled as an absolute blockbuster down at Bluebet Stadium. It did finish 16-10 to the Rabbitohs. As you can see on the screen, it was 3 tries to 2. Conversions, Penrith went 1 from 3. Souths went 1 from 2. Penalty goals, 1 from 1 for Penrith, 0 for the Rabbitohs. The completion rate, 80% for Penrith, 68% for the Rabbits. And obviously the errors were 9-13. But I'll get this one started. I think there was a lot of controversy in this game. I'll be honest. I don't think, and this scares me because we're playing them this week, I don't think the Rabbitohs can play this shit and be this close to beating and winning a game in a very long time. So obviously they were missing a lot of key players. Penrith did start to look and click a little bit more than usual and not back to their best, but they did put up a good effort. What were your thoughts on this game? And then obviously the main touching points, that try at halftime, did you think it was a knock-on? And then in the same aspect, the pass off the ground, did you think that should have been a try, or did you think it was a momentum like they said?
As I think you touched on it, game of controversies here and there. I called that that knock-on by Luke Gardner in real time a knock-on. Looking back at it, they say the ball went backwards because he travelled forwards, which I don't believe, doesn't consider a knock-on. It doesn't matter where, if you're moving forward and the ball bounces, I think it should have been a knock-on, and the pass off the ground, I think you messaged me straight away and said, isn't that a pass off the ground? And I thought, yeah, the ball carrying arm touched the ground, so that constitutes as a legal move, so it's changeover. So even if you do take those 2 tries away from him, it'll be, we were looking at a 10-4 scoreline here. So nonetheless, it was good to see Panthers bounce back from their round 1 loss to the Broncos by a point. South, they got Roosters coming up, so I think this is a good opportunity to see where their season is headed, given that this one should have been won by them. But you can't win them all, especially if you're only completing at a 68% rate.
Yeah, 100%. Now, obviously, like we said, I think it's important to say that Penrith did get some players back for this game. The Rabbits, they were missing a lot of key forwards that will return this week, which we will talk about, obviously, on our review show, seeming we have had the team list drop today. But talking about Penrith for a second here, obviously, we look at their back-to-back reign. It was built on how much meters can these back 5 make? How far can they drive this team? And reading from lowest to highest, you've got Stephen Crichton at 137 meters, Targo at 144 meters. You've got Dylan Edwards at 150, Brian Toto at 168, and a junior hasn't played many NRL game in Sania Taruva at 198. So how much and how big is it for Penrith that this back 5 starts to get back to those, making those big meters and then letting the forwards lay the platform?
Just looking at, I was just quickly looking at the stats as well from this game, and it is good to see that Penrith got back to that sort of similarity or winning ways in the back line. Not too much changes, obviously. Tyler May injured, so they have to replace him, but even the bloke that is replacing him is doing a darn good job at it. As Isaio said, I made John show, they're just tweaking some things here and there, obviously with the loss of players over the 2 seasons that they've had dominance in. And look, you can't win a comp after 2 rounds, nor can you lose it. So look, both teams are 1-1, and you got to take the positive out of this with the halftime off-field incident. It didn't really affect Latrell, which was good to see. But nonetheless, it was a good game of football to watch on a Thursday night.
Yeah, obviously you do bring up obviously that off-field incident. Now, obviously we don't condone any of that here. In the end, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. Now we let the NRL, we let the integrity unit do their investigations, and obviously whatever the outcome is, I think if what was said was said, well, I think he's going to get the punishment he deserves, and obviously that's up to them to decide. Now, obviously, Nico Hines has come out with another idea and said, hey, let's get him into camp, in the All-Star camp, and let him talk to Latrell, let him talk about these moments. But obviously, that's going to be up to what happens. Latrell Mitchell, he did obviously go back to Tyree for a couple of days. He was at the at the Tim Zoo fight on the weekend. He looked like he was smiling, looked like he was bubbling. So it looks like he's back in that mentality. So I guess it's a positive thing. Obviously, no one deserves that, but we do hope we start to kind of fade that out now that it does have that media attention. But looking at this game, it's a lot closer. It does a lot of justice for the Rabbitohs. I think this game could have been a lot more in favour of Penrith, besides that last 25 minutes where South kind of slowly pulled it back and they almost had the chance to win it. So if you're a Penrith fan, great. You've got the 2 points. You've got the bye. You're down in Kiama at the moment. You're enjoying some relaxing training. If you're the Rabbitohs, well, you've got a big game to get ready for. And if you can get within 6 points of the back-to-back premiers and play shit, you're looking like you're in a good state for the rest of the season. But Baxter, I'll throw it to you. We'll move across to the next game. It was the Parramatta Eels taking on the Cronulla Sharks on Friday night. Talk to me about it.
Yeah, unlucky, my boy, Sean Russell. Everybody was saying that he was dropped for, I think, Will Simonson. I think that's how you pronounce his name. That isn't the case. I think he got a little bit of a injury in his shoulder, a little bit of a cork, as what my reports out of Parramatta are, and talking with his family, something to do with a little incident. Just sort of flared up in his shoulder. He needs about maximum 6 weeks off, so it's nothing too concerning. I know that you screenshotted like his season is over. I got straight onto the blower onto his mum, of all course, and I just said, "Look, how is Sean?" And she said, "Yeah, look, it's all good. Nothing too serious. He just needs some weeks on the sideline. Nothing bad." So unfortunately, he did make his return into the NRL this weekend. And look, as I joke with his sister and our friends group, Parramatta 0-2 with no Russell the Muscle in their side. So the cloud still hangs over the head of Mitchell Moses. Parramatta looking to re-sign, and I think they are going to re-sign Brad Arthur until 2025. Option for third for some achievements in his end. But this was a close game. Sharks, they score. Parramatta score. Sharks score. Parramatta score. It was one of those games that was just end-to-end thriller stuff, but not really good defensively wise. I think Parramatta just need to look. I don't know they're down on troops, but they need to hold the football a little bit more. If you're only completing 66%, I know that isn't the best, but when Sharks are really giving you the ball, like look at the errors, 15-12. If Sharks, the opposition is giving you the football, you need to make them pay. And teams like the Roosters, Storm, Penrith, Broncos at the moment, they're really making the other teams pay when it comes to big errors on the other end. So I think that's what the Sharks did, and they come home with a win away. So that's 1-1, and Parramatta sit 0-2 at the moment, and they've got a tough run in the next 3 games for the first 5 rounds of the season. So what did you think about this, Tony?
I thought it was probably one of the more entertaining games of the weekend. Like you said, it was try for try. So as a neutral, I think you sit here and you go, well, I mean, if my team's not playing, I'd love to see high-scoring games. So you sit down, you enjoy it. Now, I look at that Parramatta lineup. I mean, Hopgood, we spoke about it. Hopgood, whatever you want to call him, he had another cracking game. He had his try assist. He had his, I think it was 145 meters. He had his 60 post contact meters. He had his line break assist. He had his two try assists. He had an absolute cracking game. Now, Mitchell Moses, milestone man. He gets his tries. He steps up again. Dylan Brown looked exceptional. He got his 2 try assists. For me, I guess the concerning thing is you've now had 2 games at home. You've lost 2 games at home. You probably deserve to beat Melbourne. I argue that the Sharks did deserve this game, especially without Nico Hines, but I know you're going to touch on it. Their next 3 games are teams coming off the bye, teams that are fit coming off the bye. Baxter, are we in a realistic scenario here where Parramatta start the season 0-5?
It's looking like that because they come up against Manly in round 3, round 4, got the Panthers, and round 5 of the Roosters. All 3 of them teams play the bye the previous week, so all 3 teams can do some damage on you coming up in these weekends ahead. So yeah, more realistically, you make a grand final and you lose to Storm, who the team that you beat in the last round to get the 4th spot. Then you come up against a team who went loss, which is what Parramatta normally do. And there's 2 winnable games really. Not even 6 points separated either game for Parramatta. So these are really winnable games, and it's not ideal to be sitting 0-2. As I said, you can't win every game, and you can't win the comp after 2 games, but you certainly can lose it. I know I said you can't, but you can, because the only team to lose their first 3 games and win the whole thing is the 2015 Cowboys. So since then, nothing. So really, they need to look good this weekend at Brookie Oval.
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, teams are coming off a bye, so they will have that extended break. But I think what does help Parramatta here is they do play Thursday. So they're at least getting that 7-day break leading each of those games. So obviously, you'd love to have 14 days. You'd love to have a bit longer, but to have that constant week, it also helps. Last thing before we move on, obviously, the Sharks backline again. We spoke about Penrith, but mate, the lowest was 101. Then you had 149 meters by Talakai, 153 by Ramian, 179 by Militano, and obviously 183 by William Kennedy. So an absolute all-round game that was dominated by the backline of the Sharks. They set the foundations, their forward pushed forward, and they ended up taking this game 30-26. But we'll jump into the second game. I'm going to throw it across to you again only because it was big brother versus little brother. I think we saw who little brother was in this game, but talk to me through these stats and talk to me about your thoughts on obviously the 4X Queensland Derby.
Look, it wasn't too bad. Like, first half was cracker by both teams. I think it was 10-0 at halftime and really set the platform for what was to become of a second half if you weren't watching it. But oh man, like that player on screen, Reece Walsh, he got 6 points for the Dally M, and he's really putting his name into the ring for Origin time to get that number 1 fullback spot. You got AJ Brimson, you got now Reece Walsh. Yes, you got to concuss Kalen Ponga. There's a few players that can step up now for Queensland, which is going to be a headache for Billy. Does he pick the concussed Kalen Ponga, or do you pick this guy on his new club debut who got the 6 points for the Dally M's? Rightfully so. We looked good, as I said, in the first half, but that second half, that Scott Drinkwater incident, which has been graded a grade 3 shoulder charge. He's out for the next 3 matches, and Peter Iku had a grade 2 crusher tackle, so he's out for the next 2. I think when Drinkwater went off, that was a blow, but I think putting Peter Iku from centre to fullback was another problem as well. Like, he's not as mobile to be a fullback, and I thought maybe we'd put Valentine Holmes, who can play fullback, not to the best, but for the 10 minutes, I think we could have picked him, and Reece Walsh the next 2 minutes made us pay, and they Tony Stagg scores a try in the opposite corner to the incident. Big shout out to Corey Oates. Hope he's doing well with his broken jaw. He sits out for 2 months, I believe, 8 weeks now. He's going to be sitting on the sideline. So hopefully I want him back in time for Origin. But take care of yourself, buddy. It was a bad incident. I don't think there was any malice in it. It was just a trying to stop a try trying to stop a try by himself, and it's just a tackle that's gone wrong. And I don't believe there would be any blood between them. And as I said, it was just good to see, and as well, Ezra Mann snubbing Freddie Fittler in the post-game conference.
Well, I mean, I think it just proved that Queenslanders love playing New South Walesmen in their squad, and that was kind of what Ezra Mann was referring to. He was born in New South Wales. He lived in New South Wales, but he wants to play for Queensland. So nothing has changed. You might as well throw the rule book out and let whoever play for whoever. But talking about this game, obviously, like you said, we did miss it in the last game. Micah Sivo was charged with a grade 1 dangerous contact. He took the early plea. It was a $1,000 fine. But like you just mentioned, Peter Hiku, grade 2 crusher tackle. He will face a 2-match suspension after taking the early guilty plea. Scott Drinkwater, shoulder charge, 3 matches. Now, you're a Cowboys fan.
Mm-hmm.
One, do you think that should have been a send-off? Contact to the head, you've broken someone's jaw. And the second one, given Saifidi a few days later, given Wade Graham's initial one was 3 weeks and didn't break anyone's jaw, do you think 3 weeks is justified here? Or should it have been more?
To sit back, and it's hard. You can't judge the injury. You can't add the impact of the injury into the ruling of what happened. But I believe it was the right. 3 weeks is enough. Not enough, but is the correct call. It's grade 3. It's the minimum. We talk about this good guy policy, and Scotty is one of these good guys. I think he's only had like a few incidents which has been fine. So this is his really first time he's going to be sitting out on the sidelines due to his actions. It was bad. He came in. It wasn't a traditional shoulder charge. I've had people talk to me about, it should have been a reckless high tackle like Wade Graham's ruling and whatnot. But that's still 3 matches. Whatever it was, even if Wade Graham took the early guilty plea, he still would have been sitting on the sideline for 3 matches. So, sorry to see that, this has resulted in a broken jaw for Corey Oates, but I think this is the corrections. I have no problem with it. Should he have been sent off? Maybe because when we get into the Tigers Knights game, and there was a tackle that didn't look as bad, but got sent. And I know it was late into the second half, but with 15 minutes to go. But like, if we're judging apples and oranges, this is clearly of apples and oranges, and I think these apples were a lot fairly bruised than these oranges that I hold in my right hand. But Ezra Mann, you talk about Ezra Mann being a New South Welshman, he's actually eligible to play for Queensland. Just because you're born in New South Wales does not mean you're automatically a New South Welshman, because if that is the case, then we would like Peter Sterling to come play for Queensland, but we can't take that.
And we would like 90% of your legends to come play for New South Wales. But if we want to go down that path, I am happy to sit here and do an episode on which players were born in New South Wales that played for Queensland and which players. That's
fine. That is fine. You can be born in one state and play for the opposite. That is totally legal. I have my own opinions about players who then represent other nations and then come back. That's a whole different story.
But it's not. You play for you live in New South Wales, you can play for Queensland. If I play for New Zealand, I should be able to play for New South Wales then. No, what's the difference? What's the difference?
It's not. Well, the ruling is your first over 16 game. I believe that is the rule.
That's the new
Now, the
rule
other
from
one,
when Queensland complained about 30 years ago and got it changed because they were
no,
getting walloped.
that was the original. Originally,
No,
it
it wasn't.
was
No, 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 no. If you were,
originally was where you were born. It was originally
yes,
when you were born.
Queensland
But
started getting
there
walloped
was
and they changed the rules.
no. Don't even start that. It was just the game changed the rules for whatever reason. I wasn't born. You weren't born. You're making up
I'll,
your own
I'll find
assumptions
you the
on.
history books that say why it was changed.
Well, you know what? You know what those history books are good for? The fire pit. So we'll leave it at that. Ezra Mann's a Queenslander. I loved how he snubbed him on air. It was good to see. It doesn't matter that he was a Queenslander. It could have been a Queenslander snubbing, Billy Slater for New South Wales. It would have been funny. It's just good to see that players are having a dig at the commentary team. But other than that, this was overall a great game, bar that one incident. And Broncos 2 from 2, looking good coming into this round. Round 3, players are playing for Kevy, and from all reports, as I touched on at the start, there was a bit of a sort of where he stared on the far left or the far right, depending on whatever topic it was. But I think they've come together and they're making a big charge into the 8, and it's going to be good. If we're talking about team windows of opportunity to seize a premiership, this is the Broncos' year. They lose Herbie Farnworth, that's ripping and tearing in the centre role for Brizzy. He's going to go join the Dolphins, but I believe this is their year. You've got Reece Walsh back at healthy, Adam Reynolds, Kurt Capel in the 4-pack. Payne Haas is playing like $1 million player. This is the window. This is their window, and I know it's only 2 rounds in, but they're looking hot.
You're a brave man to say this is a premiership window for Brisbane. We saw this last year and we saw what happened come the back end of last year. But we'll move on, obviously, to the first. We'll move on to the first Saturday game. It was my boys, the Roosters, 20-12 against the Warriors. There wasn't too much in it. A few penalty goals. You look at the tail of the tape there, 82%, 77%. It was a very good game. The Warriors in the first half kind of hang on for dear life. They defended their line for, I think, it felt like about 20 minutes and only conceded 1 try. So I think if you're a Warriors fan, like massive props, they've got the defensive. If they can work out that attack, not bombing tries, putting tries over when they're clear-cut opportunities, I think they could be in for a big season. Obviously, they did have a few concussions. Jackson Ford went down in, I think it was the 2nd minute. You then had Curran come on. He went off. Nickel Klostak went off. So, again, they lost a lot of players, but they were playing a Roosters side where if I look at middle forwards, I look at the man of the match, Lindsay Collins. He's probably the only one I take out of that squad over any of the Warriors players. Now, we watched, I think, about half of this, a little bit less together, and we sat there and we said from 8 to 13 in that Rooster squad, the only one that would survive would be Brandon Smith when everyone's fit. So both teams have players out. I don't think both teams are at their best level of play at the moment. For the Roosters, it still looked a little bit clunky in attack. The Suwali Tedesco incident, that's a whole nother story. What did you make of this game? What did you make about the bomb chances from both sides? What did you make about that Suwali'i and obviously Tedesco incident? What did you make of Suwali'i's hit? Because he did get a grade 1 dangerous contact. He took the $3,000 fine. What did you make of all this? What did you make of the game?
Look, if we're talking about the Warriors, this Warriors side 5 years ago, this would have been an easy, 30-8 scoreline by the Roosters. But they held on, as you touched on. They lost some key players early on, and their main man, Chaz Coolstack, in the fullback role, they lost him too. So yes, they bumped tries, but they defended their line like their lives depended on it. And it's good to see that the Warriors have finally turned a corner. And as I said, yes, this is only round 2, but it's good to see that they've turned this corner of everybody would just circle the Warriors and go, easy 2 points. But they lost to the Roosters, but they made the Roosters fight tooth and nail to earn those 2 points. So it was good to see from both teams. The Suwali incident, I'm not really into that. Man, he's trying to back himself to score a try, and he passes in the backfield. And yeah, Teddy was there, but Sam Walker's running through, and he takes the ball. So who cares? Teddy signs that new contract till 2025. So while he's there till 2026. So it's just another this discussion of who takes the fullback role for Roosters just pushes it back another 2 years. So we'll just see what happens then, and we'll talk about it until that decision comes. So, but nonetheless, great game from both sides. Yeah, unlucky for the Warriors, but hey, they're bouncing back.
Yeah, I think, like you said, that Suaalii thing now, in the moment, I can see why he took off. I think if he takes off, he beats his player, he scores under the post. We're sitting here going, what an absolute thing. I think the best thing that comes from this, obviously, two things. Sam Walker scores. He gets up, and instead of celebrating, he's already turning into that leader, which terrifies me for Queensland in the coming years. He turns into that leader. He's going straight at Suaalii going, yes, I scored, but you have to pass that ball. Suaalii goes over and apologizes to Tedesco. So I think two things. Suaalii is going to learn from this. He's going to know next time, get my head up, see what's around me. If there's an easy option, give it, we score. But also Sam Walker, a leader for the future, not only for the Roosters, but for Queensland. It's going to be a scary sight that I think in 2 weeks he makes his 50th NRL game. Most of them starts, and the kid's 20 years old. So massive for him. Suaalii is going to keep growing. He's going to start to develop his game. We might see what happened with the Minicellos, where Tedesco plays fullback. We get to about the 60th minute. The Roosters are in control. Tedesco goes to the, say, right side edge or right side wing, and Suaalii goes into the fullback, and they started kind of work like that, like Minicello did back in the day with Shaq. But obviously, you said all in all, Roosters get the 2 points. That's what they would have wanted. But obviously, Suaalii, there's dramas around his tackle. I thought he kind of didn't see that ball come out the back, how it was positioned. I think it was a fair $3,000 fine. But what did you make of that? Did you think it was kind of a blindside? He gets it, or did you think he should have got that 1 week suspension?
No, I think he's just got caught by surprise, and his arm was in the wrong position, and he'll just take the easy fine like most people in the NRL would take. It was no malice. There's nothing in it. Just yes, he did something wrong. Yes, he's getting punished by a $3,000 fine. Should it be a week? Nah, because I've seen worse, and they've been laid off with easier. So, it is what it is, and we'll move on from that.
100%. Maybe you'll just have to get a $3,000 raise so you can afford that fine. But moving in to obviously the next game, they're 2 from 2. The Dolphins have come out. They've taken out the Raiders 20-14 now. Max Power said the bunker absolutely effing robbed the Raiders. So we'll kind of unpack that a little bit as we go. But that man on screen, but though the Hammer had an absolute cracking game, scored 2 tries, tore his game apart. Asako, 4 from 4 with the boot. Tom Gilbert got a try. Obviously, for the Raiders, Jack Wyden scored. Nick Kodrick scored. Fogarty went 3 from 4. Now, again, 2 sin bins to the Dolphins. 1, Jeremy Marshall-Kin. I can live with that. He's now going to sit out for, I believe, it's the next 2 matches, obviously, with his grade 2 dangerous contact. What did you make of that? Do you think that deserved the 2 weeks? Do you think that's too harsh, or is it good to start stamping this kind of tackle out of the game?
Nah, you have to stamp it out. If you come in too light, everybody's just going to use that as their platform and go, well, this one looks not as bad. So if he was given, a week, well, that should be let off with a fine. And then someone goes, oh, well, that was a little bit more, but it wasn't really that bad. So he should get a week too. Or, no, we're going to NRL rubber stamping this kind of tackle out, and you have to come in hard early. So it is what it is. Yes, it was good to see the Raiders on top for a bit. It was good to see that Ricky can get his boys and his troops to rally around and move forward. But wet weather football, I don't think they've never played in that kind of style before, and Dolphins end up running away with it. That man on screen, the Hammer, the Dolphin, whatever you want to call him, the man's electric. It was sad to see he was sitting on the bench for the Cowboys and used as a 14 role, because he's absolutely killing it. And another player who's going to throw his name in the hat for State of Origin time fullback role. So, completion rate, you're at three quarters of the way of 100%, and you still come away with a win. Yeah, 10 errors apiece from each team. Yeah, you're going to get that in wet weather football, but this is a Dolphins team with the experienced forward pack to know just they weren't playing poorly to be behind by the Raiders. I think the Raiders just got not lucky, but they found the try line within themselves really easy. Talking about the Raiders, but for easy for themselves, they thought they might have to work harder for it, and they were in front, but they just sort of switched off, and this Dolphin experience pack just stuck to the stuck to the plan and just rolled out with the same stuff that they've been doing from the first whistle. And look what happened there. They're 6 points in front, 2 from 2. Sits top of the ladder at the moment on games played. So it is what it is, and they move on to next week.
Yeah, 100%. Now, I know there's a lot of Dolphins fans because whenever we do get a prediction wrong, we do cop it. I think the video of this game actually got around that 1,000 views. So don't take this the wrong way, but I'm putting this in probably the nicest way. They're a lot better than Newcastle last year, but let's not get carried away with the Dolphins just yet. Like we said, they've now played 2 games at home. They got their fins up. Brilliant to them. Again, if someone can send us a few of those hats, send them down. But they travel to Newcastle this week. Newcastle are undermanned. They probably get that win. Great. Then they're going against the Broncos side that's played well, the Dragons who shocked us all and played great football, the Cowboys, the Rabbitohs. So they have some big games coming out. So like I said last year, it's great to get carried away if your team's going good after 2 rounds, but let's sit here in round 10, in round 8, and let's kind of reassess where we're at now. If you would have told me the Dolphins had 2 wins when they first got invented, I think you'd be absolutely brilliant after 5 games. So after 2 games, absolutely brilliant. Massive props to Bennett. If you haven't, chuck on Stan and definitely give a watch to that show because I think it's an absolute cracking series. But Baxter, moving in to the final game of that Saturday night. Now, I'm going to start with a comment because when I first read this comment, when it first came out, I absolutely pissed myself laughing. And I thought, you know what? There's no chance the Bulldogs are going to go down to Melbourne. There's no way in the world they're going to get a win in Melbourne, even if they're undermanned. But Big Paulie wrote, and this was about an hour before the game, Manly won the rack last week. They pumped us in the middle. We were down to 12, and then they just couldn't go with them. That Manly side is much stronger than this Melbourne side without Munster or Pups, particularly in the forwards. Bulldogs 13 plus, pause, inhales hopium. Now, it was a good laugh before the game. We sit here after the game, and I mean, like, I don't even know what that guy's name is, but one of the responses to it was, this age like fine wine. And it came out and they went absolutely ham. They looked good. They looked explosive. Their forwards dominated the forward pack of Melbourne. Now, Melbourne, yes, they were undermanned, but we've seen this Melbourne side undermanned for years, and teams still go down to Melbourne and get belted when they've got 17 players out of their top 30. So, yes, they've got players out, but what the Bulldogs did from round 1 against Manly to round 2 against Melbourne, it's very early, but it's got to almost be one of the comebacks of the year in terms of week-to-week basis. They got smashed. They'll come in last. They've gone out and they've smashed Melbourne. So what did you make of this game? Obviously, 5 tries to 2. Completion rate's quite even, but are the Dogs of War back? Is it safe to say they are finally back?
Sorry, let me just catch me a little breath because me and Paulie actually caught up with each other at the pub, and he was telling me that he was trying to hide the DeLorean in his garage. So I think it was a little Back to the Future there for him coming out of that. But look, Storm, yeah, they're a bit down on troops, here, there, and everywhere with Munster and Paps as well, especially with their losing 3 key men in the forward pack. But yeah, Dogs look like they last week against Manly. I think Paulie's touched on it. They looked a bit weak, couldn't hack it. And look, whatever Cameron Surratt has done, he's just gone back to the drawing board and said, boys, this is how we're going to play Bulldog football. And stick to your guns and stuck to the guns they did, and they come away with a nice 13+ victory here down in Amy Park. Not even with the Belmore faithful behind their back. So it was good to see, especially when you're erroring 12 times a game, 80% completion rate. Kicking wasn't too bad. Could have pushed the scoreline even further, but hey, it's only round 2, 1-1 for the Storm, and again 1-1 for the Dogs. So moving forward into round 3, it'll be a cracking game for the both teams of them.
Yeah, well, the Bulldogs obviously do host the West Tigers on Sunday afternoon. So, given all accounts of what I saw on Sunday, where I really wish I didn't watch that Tigers versus Knights game because it was a fucking punish to watch that game. But the Bulldogs should go out there and win that game comfortably. We'll talk about that on our preview show. But moving in to the next game of the round, it was that absolutely. I don't even think dismal's a fair word to say here because this is a game that if you said to me, hey, I'll give you $50 to watch it from start to finish again, I'd probably tell you to keep the $50 because I really don't want to have to watch this game again. The best highlight was after the game, after Jackson Hastings had his little interview and there's a bit of push and shove at the end. That's probably the most heart that both teams showed that game, but we will talk about it. Obviously, the Knights, they had a player sent off for Dominic Young. They had a player sent off for Jacob Saifidi in 64th. Kalen Ponga goes down in, I don't even know if it was the first minute, the second minute, but he goes down to the game. They somehow pull a result at the infamous Campbelltown, the infamous Leichhardt Oval, this infamous Tiger squad that doesn't lose at their home games, lose another game at Leichhardt Oval. So let's talk about fuck the Tigers off for a second because that was dismal. But let's talk about the Knights. Does this game, and it's going to sound stupid after everything I just said, does this game in the last couple of years go down as probably one of the Knights' grittiest wins that they've had to put through? Player in the sin bin, player sent off, players dropping left, right, and centre, they come away with a win. So what did you make of that?
Yeah, to say it was their grittiest win, you could toss that into the fishbowl and pull out any excuse of how they won this game. 11 areas, completing at a 76% possession. You come to this infamous Leichhardt Oval, and Kalen Ponga goes down within the first 5 minutes, really in the first defensive set of the game for the Knights. That bloke just needs a year off. I'm going to call it, he needs a year off because we all joke about how Luke Keary's one head knock away from retiring. This bloke's even younger and he's in the same boat. So I don't know. Talking to doctors and talking to medical friends of mine, and the way they just explained it to me is for the people who don't really understand how he went down so easily. If you were to get two people, one person who's never had a concussion in their life and someone who's had 10 concussions in their life, and you hit him over the back of the head with a pillow, the person who's never had a concussion in life is going to turn around and go, what was that? And the person who's been concussed 10 times is going to go down like a sack of potatoes. Because the first incident is like, the first time you get concussed, it's like a truck hitting you. And every time after that,
the number one Bulldogs fan wanted some attention, wanted to say hello. So,
hello, Bulldog fan.
Keep going.
Again, so every time you get concussed, it's just, it doesn't take the same impact. It doesn't take the same amount of force to knock you down. We're becoming a little bit too. No, I'll start again. We're starting to realize that the HIA is more serious than we thought. We look at, even I know we're not even talking about the game, but you even look across the other code in Australia, the AFL. You sent it to me. There's a class action of 60 players who are going to fight against the AFL about concussion injury. And I even just didn't even click on the article. I just read on the Facebook comments that were underneath it, and everybody was just basically saying, the risks playing the game, but yet don't the AFL have a a responsibility to look after their product, their player, the players that play the game. This is the same with the NRL. The NRL has a responsibility to look after the players of this game. Now we talk about HIA rule being, I think it's about the 11-day mark. You got to be stood down, mate. If you get cussed once, 14 days. You get cussed twice, you're out for 6 weeks. The third time, like the NFL do, I'll keep preaching it. The third time you get cussed, you offer a HIA for the season. That's it. You're out for the season. Because I think the God-saving grace for Luke Keary was that in that COVID 2020 season, he does his shoulder in round 3, and that saves his whole body and mind and brain and everything to repair itself for a full year. He doesn't have to go out there and trot out every week and get with a chance of concussion. He can just sit back and relax and let his mind recover like it should. And since then, I don't think he has been concussed once. And I think his tackling technique has changed. We've come from an era where the legs tackle was a great, and we don't reward it anymore because we look to and favour the attacking team for a quick play of the ball. And now we come to this era of we want to tackle upright and get up. We don't want to tackle around the legs or anything like that anymore. And this didn't look like much, but I think maybe it was a head clash, maybe it was a forearm. It's actually a little bit of a knock or something. But Cullen goes down, and yeah, he looks fine after the game, but what's he like? Not even 25, and he's the highest paid player in the NRL at the moment at $1.4 million a season. And look, he has another bump. He has another concussion this season. I think he's going to have to medically retire, unfortunately. And look, I don't want to see anybody medically retire because they're not looking after themselves. Not really that, but going down this road, I don't want to see anybody do that. And I'd love to see everybody have that sort of standing ovation finish like JT, Lockyer, Cameron Smith. They walk off the park on their own terms, so to speak. So enough about a little bit of off field. I think it was funny. I think Boz Rossfield said it in the paper that Clemmer, he ran 81 metres and he ran more harder and faster to get to this incident off field between Jackson Hastings. Is he a problem within the game? Because I know he was at the Roosters. He tried to fit in there, went to Manly, tried to fit in there, went over to England, then came back and he's played a year for the Tigers, and now this happens. The tackle didn't look like any malice into it. There was really nothing into it. I've been in worse stinks, and as long as it does nothing to get personal, people shake hands at the end of the game and just walk away and sleep on it, and the next day they're all buds, or in a few hours' time after that game they're at the pub together drinking, having a beer together and whatnot. So look, make of it as you will, but
I'll jump in obviously with the HIAs. The NRL Commission is meeting this week, so that 11-day mandatory stand down has not been set just yet. At the moment, it's 7 days. They'll meet this week at some point. I don't know if they have, but that got released Monday. They will meet sometime this week, and they'll review if they make that 11 days mandatory. So that's the first thing. The second thing, do not say David Clemmer's been at the Roosters because we don't want him at our club, and he hasn't been at our club. So we're not taking him. He's been at the Bulldogs, the Newcastle Knights, and the West Tigers. We don't want to claim him. We've got enough hotheads at our team already. We don't need David Clemmer there fixing that up. But yeah, like you said, I don't know if he's an issue, but he's obviously aging. Yes, it's great. You've got that mongrel. He's in that same tier as Nelson and Jared Waerea-Hargreaves, where if they put on a big hit, it's absolutely brilliant. But those little brain snaps are a lot worse to the team than those brilliant moments at times, and he's a lot worse than them because he doesn't offer as much in that game. But again, it's a dismal game. Knights, congratulations on your win. Tigers, you're 0-2, you're bottom of the ladder after this massive recruitment drive. Maybe Appy Coruscant laughing at Panthers' room presentation. Wasn't the worst case, Finn, but we'll move on. We'll move to that final game of the round. It was the Dragons taking on the Titans. We both went the Titans. We both thought the Titans were going to do this comfortably, especially when Kieran Foran did play in this game. However, the Dragons jump up. They dominate. They get that 32 points to 18 after scoring late to go ahead in the first half. They go on with it. They control the game. 82% completion rate. That is massive for a Dragons side. The errors, they only had 9, which again is massive for a side that we saw struggle from game to game last year. Ben Hunt looked brilliant. Lomax looked good. Those two boys on screen have re-signed. Massive move, obviously, for them. But for the Titans, you're 1-1. Probably not the worst case going into the third game. But what did you make of the Dragons? And do you think, and we'll see obviously more this week, do you think that teams coming off the bye are going to have better games? Because that's what we're seeing right now. Or is this the Dragons are actually here to play and they might shock us when both of us had them cemented in that bottom 4 and in that wooden spoon debate?
I don't know about the bye theory, because only this is the first round that we've seen the team play coming off the bye. But it looked good. They did look good in the trials. Everyone was, even myself, was saying Dragons to have a bottom 4, bottom 3, bottom 2, even last place finish for the season. And they come out and they really blow away this Titans team. Yeah, they won against the Tigers the week before, but they really put it on a good display against them. And I thought, as you and I thought, we thought comfortably that the Titans would come here and they will put up a fight and they'll come home with this 1-12 win. Obviously, that wasn't the case. A lot of penalties given away by the Titans didn't help. 3 of them at least to the Dragons to kick 3 from 3 for the penalty goals. No judicial reporting from this game. Like the previous game, Jacob Saifidi getting his 5-game match suspension for his tackle. Like we compare the 3 high tackles over the 2 rounds: Wade Graham, Scott Drinkwater, and Jacob Saifidi. This one probably was not even like this was the. If we're talking 1, 2, 3, this was like the bottom of the hits, and he's getting 5 weeks. I don't know if he carries any. Not carryover points, but previous incidents to this, so maybe that's why it's been upgraded for him to a 5.
The difference between this one and Drinkwaters was not graded as reckless, where Saifidi's was graded as a reckless high tackle, hence the 5 weeks.
Drinkwater was graded a grade 3, the highest one you can. So how does he get 3 weeks? This
because it wasn't reckless. It wasn't deemed reckless. It wasn't deemed reckless. It was deemed accidental high contact.
Right. This was more accidental than any other tackle I've seen in the last 10 years. The bloke is I believe he was at marker, or he was just off marker. The ball's shifting, so he's sliding with the defense to where the ball's going. Then the attack has come back at him, and he's just put the arm out. It was nothing. It was to get 5 weeks of that is a joke compared to what we've already seen. If we've had one guy break a guy's jaw, we had one guy launch himself from the field to make a big hit, and they get lesser weeks than this guy. So enough said on that. Isaiah Papali'i gets one match ban for the West Tigers, so he'll sit out this weekend. But Dragons, good to see that they're clicking. Maybe this is a 1 week thing, and next week they come out and they're hopeless. But it was good to see Ben Hunt again. He's the reason why he signed him on that multi-million-dollar figure. But their recruitment since Ben Hunt's come to the club hasn't been great. But maybe his theory's right. Teams that have the bye, they come off the next week and they look good. That's a 2-week break for the body, for the soul, for the mind. Get your chances to regroup and tackle the next game ahead. We'll have to wait and see. I'd like to see how many teams coming off the bye actually win, and I'm going to do some stats. But we talked about my little homework for the weekend about the Dally M scoring system. Now, you've said that it's 2x players. All reports that I have seen haven't said it is 2, but I'm not saying it could be. It could be 1 and then someone else. I don't know. But it is 2 independent people giving 3-2-1s on the game. So that's how you get your 6. You get a possible 6 from 6 points, getting 3 from both people judging that game. But we'll do our own little one, which will go behind closed doors at round 12 when the NRL do. So we'll carry on from there. But yeah, I'll do my own little statistic on how many teams win and lose after their bye.
Well, yeah, it's like you said. It says those 2 judges, they both vote. So let's hope that those judges are better than the ones that were at the fight night on Sunday, because they were fucking terrible from fight to fight. So let's just hope the judges can both see the same thing, and one of them doesn't give 3 points to someone and someone gives 3 points to the person that lost. So Baxter, obviously a lot to get through there. We're hitting that 50-minute mark in total of all these games. Oh, yeah. It was a cracking round of NRL. We're starting to get those games. I already feel like we're in the back end of the season where teams are trying to push and trying to get those final spots in the top 8. So if that's something to go by for the rest of the year, bring it on. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll talk about the lineups. We'll talk about the team list, who we think is going to win. But, mate, thank you for joining me, and I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, peace out.
Now the stage is set for the best season yet. You